Ashley Auwerter. Yes, I said it right. So she considers herself a motivated, enthusiastic, personable business professional and takes pride in the ability to maintain her sense of humor under pressure, which she does well. Previous employers and coworkers, as well as committee members, have described her as a quick study whom they can rely on to get the job done, and that's very true. She's in a career field that she says that she can easily love, is exciting, and a fun industry that requires her to be proactive and reactive on a daily basis. She possesses experience in customer service, management, and leadership roles, with emphasis in digital and social media marketing. Her education and work history have taught her organizational skills, the importance of attention to detail, and how to multitask and manage time wisely to meet deadlines for a timely project completion. Over the years, she has mastered the ability to learn new subject matter easily and successfully while adapting to rapidly changing in work environments. She feels as though she thrives in environments where creativity is viewed as an asset and new ideas are openly welcome. And with that, I give you Ashley.
All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. That's me, and Social Jargn is my company. What I do primarily is I help individuals and small businesses manage their social media. And what that means is I have a lot of clients that say, hey, I need to be on Facebook. I don't want to do it. You do it. And so that's been a lot of fun. It's really diverse because while social media marketing tends to be pretty, we have a lot of the same tactics or strategies and things like that, same methods, but the clients, the different industries that I get to work with, that's what makes it interesting. So I'm here to tell you a little bit about myself and my story and how my company got started. And I wanted to be in media and marketing and publishing before I really knew it. I avoided sales and advertising because it sounded hard and too businessy and not fun. But I didn't realize this, but I started to have this mindset at a really young age. So much, in fact, that in grade school, this was one of my favorite games with one of my girlfriends in 3rd grade. It was a Barbie fashion designer software. And what you could do is you would design outfits for your Barbie, you would print them out, you'd cut them out, and then you would put them together. And so she and I would stay up until like 2 or 3 in the morning hatching out plans on how we were going to sell these clothes, right? Well, you know, we're kids, we don't understand, you know, Mattel's kind of got the market because they sold like hundreds of thousands, if not millions of this computer game, right? So that went down the toilet, especially when my dad said, no, ink is expensive, you're not doing that. So, my first website was when I was 12 because the Spice Girls were life, okay? What they were doing and the music and everything that they had was everything. So I was learning HTML code, I was figuring out website domains, I was figuring out email servers and all of this stuff at 12 because I needed a really cool Spice Girls page. And then we won't talk about what happened after that. So, and then as I got older, I got interested in film and videography, and so much so that I worked an entire summer and purchased a laptop and a camera before I started high school. And I took photography, and I wanted to do this. And I even this was the university I wanted to go to, Full Sail University. It's down in Florida, and one of my really good friends actually went there, super jealous of that. But I had a very narrow mindset at 16, 17 years old, where I was like, well, it's really competitive to go and work in Hollywood and, you know, make these huge films. I didn't realize that there were several different avenues that you could also have that skill set and be in that industry, but it doesn't mean you have to, be part of the next Star Wars film, So life took a different turn, and after high school, I got married instead. Really young, right out of the gate, and we had a son together. And it didn't work, as you can tell, it didn't work out. And we're doing better now. It's been a hot minute since all of that happened. But you know, anyone with kids or in a shared parenting relationship or anything like that, I mean, you know that there's just everything. And this is my kiddo, Chandler. He'll love that this is on the internet. And he became the reason why I made the decisions that I made. You know, I went back to college. I worked full time while I went to school. I started a retirement account because of him. I purchased a house because of him. I mean, being able to provide for him and give him a good quality of living, that's been the main motivation. And so I grew up with, you go to school, I was taught you get an education, you get a good job with good pay and benefits, and then you go to work, and then you work, and then you get a check on Friday, and then you pay your bills. And that's what I was taught. That's what I was told. That's what I did. So I worked at a call center here in town. I was also an administrative assistant for a city department. I did bartending, restaurant work, and then I finally landed in IT and marketing. And I found myself, it was late last year, in the fall, I found myself in a job that I would wake up in the morning and I would cry because I didn't want to be there. It was retail sales with very, very aggressive goals, and it wasn't, I didn't fit. It wasn't rewarding to me, and I knew that I needed to make a change. And the thing is that throughout all of this, I had started doing social media marketing in 2012 for the Rapid City Convention and Visitors Bureau, which is now Visit Rapid City. And since leaving that employment, I had done side jobs and picked up things and done freelance work. And I kind of looked at my employment history and realized the thing that had always been there for the last 5 years was social media. So I sat down and I figured out what I needed to do, how much money I needed to make, and said, okay, we're going to give it a go. And I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You know, I only put the house up for collateral, so, you know, no big. No pressure at all. So I said, okay, you know what, I'm going to do this. And at the beginning of this year in 2018, in January, I did it. I took my existing clients, I started advertising, I started networking, and it's been so rewarding and so great to do this, and it's really offered me the flexibility that I want to have for my personal life, and I get to have fun every day. It doesn't feel like work, and I think that can also be dangerous. I tell everyone, yes, you're an entrepreneur, which means you get to set your own hours, which also means you get to choose when to work from 7 a.m. until 2 a.m. anytime you want, right? So this is essentially what I do. I talk to people who probably resemble this. This to me means job security. I help people with their social media marketing, whether that's, like I said earlier, taking over the accounts and the presence and creating that content for them, if it's just providing them for some guidance, if it's a temporary time while they're hiring somebody. That's essentially what I do. My main focus is helping people understand that social media is actually part of your marketing strategy. Mine is heavily digital, but I also have other elements in there. You know, I have flyers that I hand out. I have business cards that are print. I do networking. I have a website. I have catalog listing or directory listings for the organizations that I'm a member of. So it's really kind of being like, okay, you know what? Social media is just one aspect of your entire marketing strategy. This is just a little glimpse into my daily world. These are just some of the different apps that I use. It varies between mobile, on a cell phone or a tablet, and also desktop versions. But this I like to show people just so that you can see how much time and knowledge actually does go into it. Because I think there's a misconception with social media that, oh, well, it's easy. It takes 2 seconds to do a post. Well, it takes 2 seconds to post that, but what you don't see is everything else and all the different elements that happen to create that post. And that's me.
Okay, so we're in a smaller room, so what we can do today is, if you have a question, just kind of raise your hand or somehow acknowledge Ashley. So we don't have a mic to pass, but we would still like you to state your name and where you're from, and ask your question. So, who has the burning desire to start the first question?
Randy Horsley, Farmers Insurance, obviously here in town. I don't remember if we've ever talked about this before, but do you do any Facebook advertising for clients at all?
Yes.
Okay.
Facebook ads and people, that's actually, it's a question that I get a lot is, hey, do you do ads too? Yes. Should I do ads? If your budget allows, yes, absolutely. But, yep, I can help with that with the design creation and also targeting.
JD Henderson with Wrangle Construction. At this point in time, social media seems to be very important, towards people's marketing, towards their networking. I am not an expert in social media by any stretch. You are, but I'm hearing that actually Facebook is actually giving way to other forms of social media. Is that true? I mean, is Facebook still as relevant today as it was a few years ago as far as being an important element in people's marketing and networking, or are there actually forms that are coming down the pike that the millennials are catching on to? Again, I don't even know the jargon because I'm not up on this, but yeah, it's very good. So, but I've been hearing, through the grapevine of people that understand this industry, that there are things coming that are actually evolving away from Facebook, although Facebook still seems to be so very important. Are you aware of those things, and how are they really playing out in the marketing and networking arena?
Well, thank you for the expert comment. I know a lot. Expert means that you know everything, and I will admit I don't know everything, but I'm still pretty good. Facebook is definitely relevant. The thing is, anything coming down the pipeline, I would say the next level or things to look at is virtual reality, which is still, we're getting smartphones that actually can support that, but it's not something that the average consumer can purchase, that kind of thing, or even understand. I remember when 3D printers came out, and it was like, ooh, I want that. And then you have to know, 3D software, and I'm like, okay, I don't know that part, so I'm gonna let my nerd friends understand that. But I think a lot of elements of what we call here in Rapid City as coming down the pipeline, they're already here. It's the way that we use social media that has changed. So when I first started 6 years ago, you wanted to do a minimum of 2 posts every single day. That was the minimum content. And then it turned into, whoa, that's too much. People are turning me off and things like that. And Facebook would shift the algorithm. And they're always changing that based upon, they're a publicly owned company now. So they have to, have them, there's a business strategy behind all of it. They're looking out for their shareholders, of course. But the way that the best strategy and methods now, video is huge. If you're not doing video, you need to do video. I tell people that, and you can go out and you can buy fancy equipment, a whole new system, the whole 9 yards if you have that kind of budget. But if you don't, I don't know a lot of people in business that don't have a smartphone with a decent camera. And honestly, that and a tripod can be enough for you. As far as millennials and things like that, the thing that has changed with social media is that there's more. It used to be MySpace and Facebook. Ta-da! And then LinkedIn came in, and then Twitter started emerging here in Rapid City, and then now we've got Instagram and Snapchat and Tumblr and StumbleUpon and a bunch of other ones that are trying to start out with. And so that is something that I tell my clients is, well, who are you trying to reach? Because if you're trying to if you're trying to reach the millennial crowd, you want to focus on Instagram and Snapchat. But if your audience is a little bit older, young adult, older adults, seniors, things like that, you want to take a look at Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. It goes into geographical locations too. If your industry is mostly in Rapid City and the Black Hills in South Dakota and North Dakota kind of thing, I would do more Facebook and Instagram than I would Twitter. If you're looking for business professionals and business-to-business connections, I would tell you put more emphasis on LinkedIn. I think yes, Facebook is still very relevant. If you were to count all of the social media platforms and call them a country, Facebook is actually the highest populated one. The United States is the 10th in that list. So just just a little perspective on that. So does that answer the question?
Beth Ann with Isogenics. So, by what you just said, does that really mean Facebook is an international?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Multiple countries, and you're saying US is 10 in the usage of Facebook? Or
If you took all of the social media platforms and took their users as a population and ranked them into top 10, Facebook is number 1, and the United States as a country is 10th in that list.
So if you're trying to reach an international market,
An international market?
an international business market,
I would definitely go with Facebook. I would also have a strong digital presence, but you have to kind of know what country you want to go in and their laws, because I know that there's some countries in Asia that Facebook is actually banned from.
oh, really?
It won't show up. So I mean, there's still the tech savvy to figure out a way around it and all of that, of course, but that goes into, well, where do you want to be? And I try to encourage all of my clients have specific goals, because if you're just like, well, I want to sell more, well, if you sold one more thing, that's selling more, right? So if you have something concrete, then you can actually measure the success of your campaigns.
Are there statistics that show any kind of a percentage, even among age groups or something like that, that if people are actually searching for businesses or companies on the internet, that they actually utilize Facebook before they'll look for a website? Is there a seismic shift that's coming where they're on Facebook so much that they're actually doing most of their searching for companies or services on Facebook rather than going to a website? Or is it still true that websites are by far the biggest resource that people are going to? I just know that there's so many people that are on social media that it seems like it's becoming so standard to need a website and a Facebook page. And how many people are sort of going after it on Facebook first before they even go to the web? I mean, are there any statistics out there that you have researched that are showing any kind of a shift in that regard in certain demographics or anything?
I don't have specific numbers, but to answer your question, yes. The thing is that social media presence and a web page presence your web page is kind of turned into the yellow pages, the phone books that we would have. That's really what a website has turned into. It's static information that is updated with maybe different training dates or new blog information or some new photos occasionally, versus social media is now. It's, hey, we've got this. Hey, it's one final reminder. Hey, flash sale. Don't forget that we're doing this event. It's more engaging, it's more dynamic, it's more interactive. So I tell people, if you don't have a Facebook page, you need one, but you also need to be active on it. It offers some credibility to your business, especially if it's your personal brand, if it's you who's the driver for that business. But it also lets people know that your doors are still open. I remember looking in 2014, I got a puppy, and I was looking for out obedience classes. And this one business was highly recommended by several friends, several people that I knew, and I said, okay, I'll check them out. Well, I'm part of that generation where I looked online, and I went to Facebook first. Facebook is the internet, or at least in our home, it's the internet. And then the internet is Google. So I went to Facebook and I looked, and they hadn't done a post. This was in 2014, and I looked and they hadn't done a post since 2013. And I'm like, well, are they still open? You know, you start to question, like, are they still doing classes? Everything's outdated. I don't know if this makes sense for me. So I'm like, all right, well, they have a website. Maybe their website's updated. And I click there. They had classes from 2011 and 2012 posted. So now I'm really like, well, are they still open? I don't even know if this will work with my work schedule or my life schedule or anything like that. And then for me, I didn't even call them. You know, it was one of those where they had ended up losing my business because I was like, oh, well, this is too much work at that point. And I think that says a lot about our culture too, where it's like, don't make me think, don't make me work, I just want it to be there, you know. So there's definitely a need to have both. I would never tell somebody, no, you don't need a website. I still believe you need a website because that's your digital flyer, that's your digital pamphlet of information, that's your business listing, and things like that. And then social, you can cross share that information, but social is really your immediate, your now fix. It's turned from a way to do sales and marketing and advertising. It's now shifting to that's where people are doing customer service. They're opening up Facebook Messenger and they're messaging or they're commenting in business. And it's huge in people in their late 30s and under. It's just a huge shift for how people are doing business because we're always working on something. We're always dealing with kids. You know, if I finally have a quiet moment to ask a business a question, but it's 10:30 at night, they're closed, I know that I can send them a message and somebody's going to get back to me. And that's just I think what's happened with with lifestyle.
But then, what would you say to someone who has invested quite a bit, monthly, annually, in some services that say they're going to find you clients? So they're saying that your presence is out there.
Mm-hmm.
And you pay the bill every month, $350 to this one, you know, and you don't see any results happening. No clients are calling.
The first thing that I'm going to tell that person is, well, you need to find out what they're doing for you. Like, what does that mean? They're gonna get you leads, lead generation. It's like, okay, well, what does that mean? What kind of leads are they getting you? Are they qualified? And then how are they doing it? How are they marketing you? How are you being targeted? Do you have an example of the ads that they're showing these people? Do they show you, because on Facebook you can see analytics. You can see how many people viewed, you can see how many people shared, how many people clicked, the people that you're targeting, all that kind of stuff. And when you're doing a promoted post, you can see all of that. So my advice would be to ask them for that data, and kind of be like, okay, so I'm paying you this money, and you say you're getting me leads. I'm not getting any results. What are you doing? That's essentially what I would look at, because it's you're learning. You might not have gotten any leads from it, but you are learning who your audience is not. And it's okay, well, say 3,000 people saw your ad, but nobody's doing what you wanted. Could it be the messaging? Could it be the visual component of it? Could it be the targeting? A lot of it is, what do you want people to do? And then how do you simplify it and make it very clear with what you're trying to sell them or educate or inform them about.
And you would assume most people are going to Google to try to find you. So the issues may be what's happening.
Yep, it all depends on where you're at too, because if they're doing Google AdWords for you, there's also analytics there, and there's also a purchase rate for those keywords, and you can be asking them, well, what keywords are you buying? Are they even relevant to what you're doing? I know in basic statistics, I've been told that a minimum budget amount for Facebook ads, online advertising, things like that, businesses should be looking at around $1,000 a month minimum to be extremely effective. That's a lot of money. For everybody watching, if you've got $20 to boost a Facebook post, yes, it's still worth it, okay? You don't have to have $1,000 budget for it. But that's also where I come in, and we focus more on the storytelling and focus more on the engagement and the organic portion of it. Because if you have compelling content, your message is going to get out there. People are going to naturally want to share it with other people or tell people about it. Versus, hey, you know, they've got a 30% off boot sale. I mean, yeah, I probably tell people about it, but you know, it's not as personal, and that's really what social media was started for, was those personal relationships. It was meant to supplement interactions with the people that we care about, not replace them, not make businesses money, but you know, we live in America and that's what we do. We figure out how to make money. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I have a question.
Okay.
As a small business, say less than 5 people working for the business, or even a single person business, what is your bare minimum recommendation for social media presence? And what do you offer for your services? Do you offer different types of packaging, or what does that look like?
Okay. So I'm always going to tell people, only take on the social media presence that you can maintain at a reasonable pace. And what that means is, if you can do one account well and your customers are on Facebook, do Facebook really, really well. If you are a more visual product and Instagram's better for you, do Instagram really, really well. Because if you're trying to do 5 different social networks and they all are mediocre, you're not going to see the results and you're spreading yourself too thin. Because content that you put on Facebook is composed differently on Instagram, which is different on Twitter, which is different on LinkedIn. You can take one piece of content and share it in multiple places, but the way that you have to compose the post is different so that it doesn't look wonky and weird and that kind of thing. So that's my recommendation. One minimum, of course, but then be strategic in that one that you're choosing. As far as pricing and packages go and things like that, absolutely. I want to work with small businesses, and I started this because social media is a community, and the better the community, the better engagement, the better experience, the more people are going to contribute, and that's just good for everybody. And so I sit down with business owners and individuals and talk about, okay, what is it that you're actually looking for? Are you wanting somebody to just take this over for you? Or I have other clients where we work as a team. I talked to a couple other gals, and they send me content, and I schedule posts, and they say, hey, this is what I want to go out, and that kind of thing. So it all depends on individual circumstances and the situation, and then we hash out the details, all the business stuff and things like that, like money and contracts and photos and video and all of that.
Yeah. So you've shared your history, and you've shared good suggestions for things that we should follow. Where do you see your business going in the next 5 to 10 years? Obviously, social media changes on every 3-month basis.
It does. And I'm a little scared to talk about it because I haven't reserved where we're staying yet. But because video is so huge, there's YouTube is huge in my household too. We're part of those people that watch other people play video games on YouTube.
So does my son.
Yeah, it's really popular. But the thing is video, I mean, that's huge. I mean, it's why data packages with your cell phone company are going up. It's why net neutrality has been such a hot topic issue. It's why if you have a dial-up connection, people wonder how you live with your life. It's huge. Media consumption is absolutely huge, and it'll account for 2/3 of the mobile activity by 2020, I think. So just in the next couple years, that's what people are using their devices for. People are buying tablets to watch Netflix or YouTube in bed versus, having a television anymore. All the cable cutters are happening. So I am purchasing and booking a trip to VidCon in July next year, and I'm super excited about that. And that's what I want to do, is I want to focus more on, because a lot of things change with this, and I want to focus more on the content creation and going back to that video piece, something that ironically was what I was super interested in as a kid and decided to bail on and really wish that I had it. But that's the focus on, what we do in social media. We do writing, we do photography, we do sales, we do marketing, we do customer service, and video production is slowly becoming part of that. And for those who haven't heard of VidCon, it's a huge YouTuber convention, but it's educational components. It's, hey, this is what's happening with YouTube. This is the upcoming trends. Here's how you can up the ante in Adobe Premiere Pro, which is a video editing software. And here's how to be strategic in your content and things like that. So that's what I see in the future, is just taking, still really doing what I'm doing, but being able to elevate that content so that it's still relevant and effective for my clients.
Cool, sign me up.
Okay.
Not for the conference.
My gaming sound. How do you see with the content providers, Google, Facebook, and everything, deciding to chop certain people just because they don't like their views? How do you see that going in the future?
That is exceptionally challenging because our legal system, by design, is about 5 to 10 years behind of what's actually happening.
I'd say closer to 20.
Because they're always looking for a previous case study to base decisions on. Well, this happened in the past, and it was familiar, and so this is the ruling, that kind of thing. I don't know anything specific. I can't give you anything specific. I can say that I've been watching because there's certain YouTubers that have gotten into trouble this year. There's certain Twitter stars that have gotten in trouble this year. There's some big name people that I'm like, I don't know if you want to say that or do that. And I think it's a really fine line, and I think it's really hard. And the unique part about social media is that it is they're privately owned entities that are exceptionally public. It's
their platform. They can do what they want with it, but I can see there's they're trying to cut off certain things that they don't whoever is running the company doesn't like. But they also have, they're also very popular. I can see, things rolling over real quick on them if this keeps up.
On a smaller scale, let's scale it back a little bit. If you were to go to your favorite coffee shop, and this other person went there every single day, and for a while they were just talking about, their, let's just say the world is flat.
Right.
Just to pick one that, and they're like, no, the world is flat, blah, blah, blah. And you go in and you get your coffee and you do your thing, and you're like, you know what, they're not harming anybody, they're just sharing their views. Like, I agree with them, I don't agree with them, whatever your stance is, and you go about your day. But then one day they come in with a bullhorn, and they're standing on a crate, and they're shouting, and they're yelling, and they're throwing eggs at people that don't agree to them. And it's one of those things where the business owner then has to make a decision.
Oh, yes.
Well, do I let this person have free speech, or do I kick them out? And so that's kind of on a smaller scale. But I think what these companies are realizing, and even what small businesses are starting to realize too, is you need to have your own social media policy. And you need to kind of have that distinction and that decision of, okay, do we shut off this person and in this case possibly have a court issue where, you know, freedom of speech is in question? Or do we let them continue and disrupt the rest of the
I don't see it so much
experience?
as a First Amendment issue because they are private companies, but I'm just looking at how the, you know, how the advertisers and everything are going to adjust to that if whatever they're doing, the company running it decides, you know, there's a lot of people that have been deplatformed and demonetized recently just because of their particular views, not necessarily that they are highly offensive or they're using a bullhorn and throwing rocks, but it's just whoever's running the company decides they don't like it. I can see just the whole thing folding in on itself real quick if something doesn't change, I think, and it's going to be more at the top end rather than the bottom end.
And I don't have a specific answer on what I think is going to
I'm just kind
happen.
of wondering what you are seeing because you're in this every day.
Oh. YouTube is probably the most criticized for some things that they've done for the creators and with their creators, especially their monetization scale. That's the one I'm most familiar with. The thing is that it hasn't, on a huge scale, it hasn't affected it. The topic that came up with some controversy was YouTube was now putting more requirements before you could see monetization from your channel. So for example, you have to have so many subscribers, and it's a couple thousand. You have to have so many subscribers. You have to be posting so many times within a certain time frame. They started enforcing these requirements before your channel was eligible for monetization. And a lot of creators were getting really, really upset about it. But at the same time, as a business, YouTube is making that decision because they need to be able to have high quality content, and they need to pay. They're wanting to pay people who have decided to make this as a commitment, not, unfortunately, you know, the aspiring film artist who is pushing out a video once every 6 to 8 months. So which, you know, I mean, I understand it too because it's very much, I have some artist friends that are like, you know what, it's not about the money. Like, I make $2 every month, like, big deal. That's not going to do anything for me. But a lot of it is, very much the principle of the thing. But I think it's one of those where they're so big that impact hasn't been seen yet. So, because I know some of these too, with them being pretty relevant, or not relevant, but pretty recent, it's going to take some time to see how much of an impact, if any, that's going to hold. Does that answer your question a little bit better?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Sort of.
Just
Okay.
kind of, a view, your view of what's going on, like, because you're on it every day, whereas I look at it every once in a great while and not doing something.
No, I haven't seen. I mean, for the individual, yes, absolutely, that sucks. That's absolutely awful. But I haven't, as an overall industry trend, I haven't seen. I mean, just because these people stopped getting payment from YouTube, it hasn't impacted the media consumption for it.
Other questions?
You said you started this particular endeavor at the beginning of this year?
I went full-time at the
Full-time.
beginning of this year, January 2018. Social Jargn has actually been around since 2014. I've been doing it part-time with some freelance clients. And one client actually of mine has been with me the entire duration of that. I've been managing their Facebook presence for the whole time. So very thankful to them.
So you cut away all sidelines in favor of focusing on this one avenue. So what has been, since you've done that, how has the trajectory for the business been over the course of the last 10 months or so?
It's been awesome. Summer, I think here in South Dakota, we work hard and we play hard. So summer months are harder to schedule a meeting or to get somebody to commit or be interested in something like that. But social media I found is a really, really easy topic. People are very interested in it. They have a lot of questions. And it's something that, again, in our area, people are very much finally interested in it. You know, I tell people South Dakota's 5 years behind because we make sure that it's going to work first. We let the other guy try it out. But, you know, and it amazes me too because I'll meet with people, they'll be like, you know what, I should be on social media. And I'm like, what business do you have? And it's something successful for the last, 3 or 4 decades. And I'm like, you don't have a Facebook page? And people have told me, nah, it's a fad. or they'll say, no, I heard Facebook's suffering. Or, no, it's, I don't have the time for it, and that kind of thing. And so it's in our area here in Rapid City in the Black Hills, people are finally starting to be like, okay, I really do need a Facebook page. And it comes from, we are huge on tourism. And so, we have a lot of outsiders coming in during that season that are trying to research and figure things out and look and see what we're doing. And at Visit Rapid City, that was one of the challenges because 6 years ago, businesses weren't totally on board yet. So there was a lot more work in having to create that content. And so the more people and the more businesses that were generating content there, and all I would have to do is click share, the easier it made for that, and the easier it made to promote, and the easier it made to help those businesses and those, the attractions and everything promote themselves. And so that's kind of what I enjoy about social media on that aspect of it. So I've seen a lot of great success with this. As far as actual, can I make this much money in the next year, that kind of thing, I'm still figuring that out. But I'm able to pay my bills and eat, so I'm pretty happy with that. My big ask, I'm going to sneak 2 in there. 2 answers in there. So directly for my business, what I'm looking for is some funding to help continue education. If anyone has attended or researched or looked at tech conferences, they're not cheap. And they're in places like California and New York where nothing is cheap. Compared to Rapid City, we're used to paying an average of maybe $120 a night for a hotel room. Not $350, on the season of discount price, for the convention. So that is my ask for my business to help grow, because there are some educational opportunities and conferences and trainings that I would like to participate in. On a more community type level, something really hit me hard earlier this year. Tyler Reed with the Fine Arts Center, the Doll, here in Rapid City, works with juvenile court, teen court program, and kids and youth through art medium. And one of the projects that they had was they were going to go down to Art Alley and paint a mural about a current topic, something that was relevant to these kids and what they found so impactful. Well, what they chose was social media, but in how they felt trapped by it. How they felt trapped by social media, how they felt judged, how they felt exposed. Because while social media is sort of new, Facebook came out, I think it's 2004, 2005, if I remember correctly, and which isn't that long ago, to be honest with you. But I was just getting, ending my high school career and things like that, and so it was like, yeah, electronic yearbook, I love you, yes, let's stay in touch. That kind of thing, except you actually could. You could stay connected to these people after you left. And so I feel like my generation, for the majority of it, really looks at, social media as intended to supplement relationships. But kids these days it is their social life. It is their world. And this is how they're interacting. And this is how, for some of them, the only way they know how to interact. And so I remember thinking that was just mind-blowing to me, and because there's an app going around called Sahara, where you can sign up for a profile, and then you can share it with other people, and then everybody else can anonymously anything with data, anything is never gone away, okay? And everybody knows who you are and where you are. So anonymously send you feedback. So my generation, I'm sending funny things about how my friend should cook me dinner, or how this person should, we should go for a hike, or, blah, 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 the harmless feedback that you would get on this app. One teenager, a minor, was getting inappropriate messages from an adult through this app that was anonymous. I was working at a cell phone store, and I had a dad come in needing to activate an old phone, and I was joking around. I was like, well, she has a brand new device. What happened? Did she break it already? He goes, no, the cops took it. I said, what? He goes, yeah, my 14-year-old daughter has a friend, and her friend broke up with the boyfriend, and the boyfriend had pictures. And when he got mad at her, so he sent the photos to everybody, including my daughter, and the cops took it, and it's being processed for evidence because she's a minor, and the photos were classified as, child pornography. So my community ask, after all that long story, is to I want to start a program or something that's active here that can help educate parents to understand social media, what's actually out there. It all sounds really scary, and it's not to scare anyone or intimidate anyone, or I know some families that are just like, no, you're not being on social media, I'm taking it away, you don't get a cell phone, you don't get the computer, you don't get the internet. And I don't agree with that personally. I think that if you can educate your kids on how to use tools effectively, then that's going to help them, because what are they going to do when they're 18? What are they doing behind your back? I remember being 16, and you just figure it out when your parents aren't looking. My parents are way smarter than I was at 16. But that is the ask. I'd like to create something here in Rapid City, or something that could go on the digital medium to help educate parents, help empower them so they're not so scared of social media, so that they know what's going on with their kids' lives and can help them prepare that. Because, again, working at that cell phone store, I know so many people that don't know how to use that phone, which is fine. Again, job security, but that's my ask.
Okay.
So.
All right, well, let's give it up for Ashley.